Finally, some Clipper basketball once again, and it was against the Los Angeles Lakers after the All-Stars. And with all the nice rest that we had, like at least like 1 week or more, we managed to face against the Los Angeles Lakers, and it was a really high anxiety, intense game. If I'm gonna keep it 100, so the Los Angeles Clippers, basically the first half, we basically killed it. We went off. We did our thing. Like Marcus Morse, he started off really good. He played good throughout the whole game, but he pretty much was the one who was getting all of our buckets. Like he showed that he is really important for the Clippers because dude is really big. He's a big enforcer. He's like a perfect veteran that any teams would love. He has that nice, like, he has a nice mid range and he has a nice typical turnaround fadeaways. He definitely is more than capable to knock down some threes, and he just, does a lot of really versatile things. Like, basically gets our buckets. And then you would have Luke Canard, who was also definitely killing it as well too in the first half. And then Terrence Mann played pretty good throughout the whole game. And then like second half, like especially the third quarter, if we're gonna keep B100, we played pretty horrendous in the third half, but thankfully we made it up in the fourth quarter and during crunch time. But the third quarter, man, we had way too many turnovers. We had really sloppy plays. We literally like stepped out of bounds like what 3 times, which is we like going down through the games. Like thankfully we won this, but we need to like definitely control the damn turnovers, bro, because this could definitely hurt us a lot. Like that would definitely like moments like these, especially what happened in the third quarters, is definitely like shooting ourselves in our foots. Like, thankfully the Lakers played pretty sloppy as well too. But if can you imagine if we play like a team like just say like the Jazz, the Mavericks, or any elite teams like the Warriors, the Bucks, all that, we cannot afford to have a lot of sloppy plays like what we did in the third quarter. Like we kind of like ISO'd a little too much. Well, at least thankfully it was not long. It was just strictly like in first half, third quarter, and then we started to have some nice ball movements. But we had a lot of turnovers in the third quarter. Then fourth quarter, we finally tightened up. We kind of got ourselves back together. We made our shots. We pretty much but yeah, we still had some really questionable moments, but thankfully we pulled it off. But it was a pretty I'm glad that we got this win, but at the same time though, like it was a really sloppy win if we're gonna be really honest. Like there's definitely a lot of improvements that we could have done. Like we should have most definitely blown out the Lakers by at least like double digits, but but thanks to the turnovers, it gave the Lakers a lot of the momentum. But again, gotta consider you don't have the best basketball player in the world is not playing. Paul George, who's also a premier small forward, is not playing as well too. Norman wasn't playing, and also we played against the referees as well too because the refs really try to say that the ball was out on Roca when it was clear as clear as water that LeBron's foot was out of bounds and he was still holding the ball, but the refs really tried to pull it off. But then like the but literally like the last the last second, like the refs were like, they didn't want to make it too obvious that they were trying to help the Lakers, and they just, like finally just recognize Toronto's new challenge and give it to the Clippers. But the refs, they made a lot of questionable calls. Like, if I can recall, one of the plays when Zubac, he was just putting his arm up, like he was literally not doing anything, no contact. I believe it was Malik Monk. The refs called a foul on Zubac, or like it was LeBron, I think. But like seriously, like how is it possible? How is that a foul when you just like spread your arms, put your arm right up in the air, like literally not even touching with your arms or your legs, and that's a foul? That makes zero sense. Also, Reggie Jackson, like, when Taylor Horn Tucker kind of like did a little bit of an arm lock or something like that. Well, not necessarily an arm lock, but like at the last seconds, like it was kind of like a foul. I mean, a, a lot of moments like that would have been caused a foul, but it's whatever. Then let's not forget Taylor Horn Tucker did smack Reggie Jackson in the face, but like sure that probably was not intentional and stuff, but I mean a lot of things gets called for a flagrant foul for the most like bone silly pettiest things ever. So like that's a lot of red flags that the refs did. So and we overcame a lot of stuff. Like we overcame not having stars and the refs. But enough me kind of a little bit trying to complain a bit. I might actually try to go player by player like how I usually do on how they did. So first of all, you got Marcus Morse. Like I said earlier in the vid, he did consistently good. He was nothing but butter. Made some nice shots. Being a really good veteran, power forward presence. Like just being a really good enforcer in general. And then you got Reggie Jackson. Now Reggie, ooh, he was getting buckets. He was getting buckets. And his playmaking, in a way, improved. But he had a lot of down plays because, like, the weaknesses that people were saying about Reggie Jackson, about how his IQ is pretty, suspect. Like, this was the game. This was a perfect, like, recipe for anyone, for Reggie Jackson haters, because he had a lot of turnovers. He really did have a lot of turnovers. Like, and in the last seconds, like he also kind of made a little bit of a boneheaded play or something like that, and then resulted into the Lakers ball. Like Ray Jackson could have just dribbled it out, but Ray Jackson did some type of something that caused it to be a turnover, and then resulted in the Lakers ball. Like thankfully, Carmelo did not hit that shot. Thankfully, Carmelo tried to go Steph Curry mode, but like man, it could have been like imagine the Clippers lost though, a lot of people would be getting on Reggie. A lot of people would be getting on Reggie, but nevertheless, glad that we won this game. We all know what Reggie Jackson was capable of. We all know how clutch Reggie Jackson could be in terms of getting the buckets, but like Reggie did good on a lot of things, but he had major red flags in this game. So hopefully, like down the line, Reggie Jackson really needs to control on the turnovers because, like, you don't want to be kind of like you don't want to be like a Russell Westbrook. But I know Reggie Jackson is nowhere near as bad as Russell Westbrook because we all know Reggie Jackson could most definitely get buckets, and he also plays pretty solid defense. And then you got Ivica Zubac, who started off the game like really sloppy. He had a lot of turnovers. He was getting packed all the time, but later on he did better. But he only saw first half, for the first half essentially. But which is pretty understandable because he literally got in foul trouble. He was like 4 fouls and all that. So it was definitely understandable that while Zubac, didn't get too much minutes because he did play pretty sloppy, and also had a lot of turnovers, like the second most turnovers behind Reggie Jackson. But he did, like I said, later on, like in the second quarter, he did a lot better. He made some nice hook shots and all that. Just played like a typical solid 7-footer. But he had, like I said, with like Reggie Jackson, he showed like his red flags in this game. But yeah, Tyronn Lue did not play him out on the second half, which is, I mean, I I can't really comment too much about it because Tyronn Lue coached pretty good in my opinion in this game at least. And then you would have Terrence Mann, who was definitely great in this game because his defense was amazing. He was really scrappy. He was really hustling. He was getting boards. He was making shots as well too, getting his mid range and shoot some threes and all of that. And he also at moments had to defend the paint, and he held his own, and he did pretty good. He even held his own against LeBron James in a way. But gotta love Terrence Mann's um, relentless hustles. Nick Batum, it's not the most flashiest, but he did pretty good in my opinion. Like his defense was nice, especially that one play against Malik Monk. Like when he can try to contest Malik Monk, he kind of missed it, but then he recovered, and then he just literally swatted Malik Monk when he tried to shoot a three. So gotta love Nick Batum's defense because he is extremely versatile, and when time comes, he's more than capable to hit corner shots. Luke Canard, big, 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 big shout out to Luke Canard because uh, he came from a really long way. Like last season, beginning of the year, he was people just, including me, especially me, would consider to just see him as more of a spot up shooter. But then later on, he stepped it up, and this was a perfect game for Luke Kennard because he's shown that he definitely could swish buckets on really good defenders because especially that one beautiful play when Luke Kennard drilled a three against Stanley Johnson, who's known to be a really good defender, at least what Lakers fans would say about Stanley Johnson. But Luke was really, really of a sniper, and his passing was pretty good too. Like the way how he passes the ball is really interesting because it looks like he's going to shoot it, but then he passes the ball last minute, which is really good. And he also has pretty good IQ, and that's one thing I have to commend Luke Kennard for. Then you have Isaiah Hansdon, who played pretty good throughout the whole entire game. He definitely is more of the hustle type of big, unlike Zubac, who's more like a conservative type of big. Like Harnstein's more of a hustle type of big. He definitely got some nice floaters for sure. Got some buckets for sure, and he even took a wide open 3-pointer, but it almost went in, but it didn't go in. But I'm loving Harnstein's confidence of trying to expand his range already. Like I said, this is something that Ivica Zubac needs to continue to work on. Is I just want to see Zubac expand his range. If he can shoot threes, it would be so good for the Los Angeles Clippers because having a stretch big is just really, really helpful to have. And we've seen a lot of Amir Coffey minutes, and Amir Coffey did not disappoint at all. He was he actually had 12 points, and he also made some really key plays, especially when he shoot the threes. And one thing that Amir Coffey grew on me big time on is the way that how he moves the ball. when Amir Coffey's on the floor, we definitely have some more ball movement. Like, look, I don't know if y'all heard me in the past videos, but Tyronn Lue seriously needs to start considering running Amir Coffey at that point because he is really good at passing the ball. Like his playmaking ability is really like creative and all of that. Like he's capable of making like bullet passes, and he also has like really good IQ. Sometimes something that Reggie Jackson does not have, like, at his best. I'm not trying to say Reggie Jackson has bad IQ because we all know Reggie Jackson. He's a certified dog. He does his thing, but Amir Coffey is like more like an IQ oriented type of player. So I mean, it's something that Tyronn Lue should really consider because, like I said, when Amir Coffey runs the point, our pace would move around faster. And one thing that the Clippers definitely need to keep doing is moving the ball. And thankfully, we moved the ball like throughout most of our games. And then, who else got definitely talk about? Robert Covington. Oof, nothing but love for Robert Covington because ever since when Robert Covington was back in Philly, he was always that really scrappy 3-and-D type player that can shoot the ball and has really good, like, great hustle. Like, he's essentially like a 6'7", 6'8" Patrick Beverly with the 7'2" wingspan, and he showed it a lot because without Robert Covington, it would have been really tough for the Los Angeles Clippers to win the game because his defense was just pesky. I mean, pesky. He definitely got some really key skills, and he had the highest plus minuses in the game. And hopefully, he could remain a Clipper for the rest of his career because Rocco is just really special for the Clippers because his versatility and his peskiness. Like I said, he's like a hybrid of a Patrick Beverly and a Nick Batum body. Like he's Patrick Beverly, but he has more of a smarter IQ. Like he would not make some hot-headed fouls. But shout out to Pat Bev, man. Like nothing but love for him. He even showed up to one of our games last time against Houston. Like that's some nice loyalty stuff about Pat Bev, but that's just me being off topic. But nevertheless, Rocco has just been amazing for us. But I believe that's probably enough for the Clippers side. Like I don't know who else could I really talk about as of right now. But before I just stop talking about the Clippers, like one thing that I just really did not like what the Clippers did is trade Serge Ibaka because that whatsoever made zero sense because Serge Ibaka was that perfect big man to have because he plays really great defense and he has some solid mobility. Like he definitely played really great defense on AD, and he's a really good shooter, like especially in the mid range and the 3-pointers. Like he just has like good IQ as well too. And you trade him for Rodney Hood and Sammy Ojeley, like that makes zero sense because like I said, we already have a big log jam with our bigs, with our wings. So why bother doing that move? Like, I don't want to hear that, oh, you're trying to create cap space, but bro, Serge is a free agent this year, so how in the world, like, that would make any sense? Like, I guess some people say, oh, trade exceptions, blah 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 blah, but I mean, I don't know, man. Like, we definitely should have definitely asked for at least 2 second rounders at least from like the Milwaukee Bucks because the Bucks are a good team and I'm sure they're willing to sacrifice like at least a second round pick for this year or especially next season would be nice, but this season would be cool because this upcoming draft could be perfect for the Clippers because that would be perfect for the Clippers to take a power forward or a center. But again, this is just me being off topic. Now let's talk about the Lakers a little bit. So we all know the Lakers are like, our biggest sworn enemies, but I'm gonna try to be unbiased as possible. So the Lakers, they played pretty sloppy in the first half. LeBron, he he did. I mean, he didn't have his best nights. He had 21 points. Thankfully, he did not make his shots and all that. But but yeah, LeBron had 21 points. He didn't really had as much of assists that he would usually do, but he did play some pretty good defense in the first half. If we're being honest, especially he kind of got excited when he blocked Terrence Mann, that should have been a goaltend, but I guess he blocked Terrence Mann. And he did that kind of a little bit of the wag thingy, like the finger wag. Russell Westbrook, um, he played like an Eric Bledsoe tonight, which is he didn't play like how like the really 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 horrible Russell Westbrook, but he just it was like he didn't really do too much. I mean, I shouldn't say he didn't do too much because there are moments when he actually had some momentum, which he for some reason he plays better when he plays against the Clippers compared to in his normal games. But yeah, then you got Taylor Horn Tucker who pretty much turned out to be like a Ray Allen. He played pretty good in the third and the fourth quarter, so I guess gotta give him some props. And then Malik Monk, it was pretty much not his night. Austin Reeves, I guess, Frank Vogel decided to start him, which is, I guess, is pretty smart to play the young guys. That's like the way how Vogel is doing with Austin Reeves. That's what Tyronn Lue should have tried to done with Brandon Boston or especially Jay Scrub as well too. But nevertheless, Reeves he had that one really good lockdown defense against Reggie Jackson, which sparked up the momentum. Thankfully, he was not hitting his shots, but I guess he brought energy, so I guess props to him as well too. But thankfully, my Clippers prevailed, and we managed to win the game. But pretty much like it was pretty sloppy, but we won the game. So just let me know what you think about the video, or especially what you think about the game in general. Be sure to leave a like, comment, and subscribe, and I'll try to chat with y'all in the comments section. And as y'all know, go Clippers.